Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the My Ball, My Rules podcast. Once again, I'm delighted to be joined by Harry Dole and Dekarani. How are you, boys?
Very good, mate. You
have football back in our lives.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's overriding feeling is of joy because football exists again. We'll start with you, Dek, because I think you probably had the worst weekend of a lot of us. Arsenal, talk us through it, mate.
It's got very laughable at this point. I didn't actually think things would be able to get much worse than the end of Unai Emery's stint at the club. But we've somehow found a new level of low. Obviously, in the last week, I said we would lose to City. At first, I think the prediction I came with first was 2-1. But then I realised actually we're going to get battered like 3 or 4-0, and we did get battered 3-0. So I was happy that my brain started talking during that podcast. So I was right with something, but we were just all over the place. I didn't think the fullbacks were that bad. I thought Bellerin and Tierney were okay. It was David Luiz. David Luiz was just
it's a masterclass.
He was like I was talking about this with my mates this week. If you put David Luiz in the worst defence in the league, I don't think he makes them any better.
No, he doesn't.
That is embarrassing. He's one of the worst defenders in the Premier League at the moment. Why? I just don't understand. I mean, obviously, Pablo Mori got injured, which obviously happened, and we had to obviously put Luiz in, but he is atrocious. He's been past it. It's just another Czech, but actually worse. Because I've always felt like Czech was never really had his heart in it with Arsenal, and I feel like that's the same with David Luiz, only worse because David Luiz is a worse player than Czech at centre half. And then obviously he got sent off, which probably helped. And then we ended up obviously losing 3-0. Went to Brighton, who are a team in a relegation battle. Obviously, that was their first game back from lockdown. We obviously had the 90 minutes before, which might have given us a little bit of an advantage because we kind of knew what was expected of us. First half was virtually a nothing game, as most of the Premier League games that have come back have been a bit slow, not really getting into the full tempo in the first 45 minutes. That's what it was like at Brighton. Second half, we come out well. I actually thought we played well at the start of the second half. Ceballos, who I'm not his biggest fan, but he started to link up with the defence a bit better. Obviously, Rob Holding had come into centre half and he was playing quite well. So Ceballos was coming in, picking up the ball from the centre half, which he wasn't really doing in the City game. I thought it was kind of shying away, and that's why we kept losing the ball in midfield. But Ceballos started linking the play up. We obviously scored a great goal through Pepe. Which is good for his confidence because I feel like he finished before we went into lockdown. I thought Pepe was in decent form. I thought he finally sort of found his place in the team, and I was disappointed he didn't start at City. But he got his goal, and it was a great goal, a little curler into the top corner. Nothing too drastic. And then we just essentially fell apart. Pretty much, which is what we love to do, conceding a scrappy goal, another corner conceded at Brighton, which we have done many times before. I think either last season or the season before, we conceded 2 goals in like the first 10 minutes from corners at Brighton. So this is nothing new. Obviously, Lewis Dunk scoring like one of the scrappiest goals you'll see all season. And then
Wondergoal.
I mean, it wasn't better than Pepe's, but it surely is up there. And obviously, I kind of missed this point at the end of the first half. Obviously, Leno got injured, who's arguably our best player. Form-wise, he's definitely our best player because he had a great game against City. And that says a lot because we conceded 3 goals against them. But Leno obviously got injured, not Morpay's fault. It just wasn't. Me and Sam were talking about this. A lot of Arsenal fans slagging off Morpay on social media. I just don't think it was warranted.
You'd be fuming at your striker if he doesn't challenge for them.
I completely agree. If Aubameyang done that, no one would complain. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not on the Arsenal side.
You've got to take into consideration how hard it is to stop at a speed like that. Like, he's not just going to... Well,
exactly, I completely agree. And it was a really slow motion footage I saw where Leno actually didn't have. He went up for the ball, but he didn't have the ball in his hands when Morpay started jumping. And obviously, once you're in midair, you're not gonna stop, are you? It's not gonna happen. So I wouldn't say it's Morpay's fault. Obviously, Morpay got a bit of stick from Leno, Guendouzi, a few of the fans on social media and that or whatever. But then obviously he had a decent game, and then he got his reward with a goal in the 95th minute, which just made me laugh. That's all I can say. It just made me laugh how bad it was.
What would you say as like an Arsenal fan and a football fan in general? Say Morpay after the game comes out and says these Arsenal players need to learn humility. I think, like in my opinion, as like a fan and a neutral in that game, is I love that sort of kind of tenacious side of a footballer, and then to come out and be like, you know what, they were wankers to me during the game. I've just got to score a 90th minute winner. You need to learn some humility out of that. It's like, what do you think of that?
I think it was easy for Morpay to say what he wanted after the game because he was the hero in the end. So he was at the end of the first half, he was the villain, but he got the 90th minute winner, and he's one of the man of the matches for Brighton. So he could kind of said what he wanted and got away with it. But to say it, I mean, fair play to him. He didn't have to say what he had to say, but it's put a club like us in our place because we shouldn't be treating clubs like that on the pitch. We should. Arsenal have always been built on a bit of respect. I know that's hard to say after how we treated Ruud van Nistelrooy after he missed his penalty against us when we went in 2004. I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But most of the time, for the majority of the time, especially under Wenger, I always thought we showed a certain level of respect. We never really dipped lower than shouting abuse at specific players, other than obviously as I mentioned there with Van Nistelrooy. So it's not really the values that the club has. So I'm quite happy that you brought it up because as a fan myself and how we got brought up with Arsenal through the 2000s and the 2010s, it's just not how we are in my opinion. So that's something that needs to change. But there's always been that thing about Arsenal being soft. So some Arsenal fans might say, well, it's good to show that side because it's showing we're not a soft team anymore. But we may be soft, but we're worse. You know what I mean? So,
them Arsenal teams, like the ones you mentioned from the 2000s, they didn't need to say things like Guendouzi during the game because they knew that like Vieira, he was winning his tackles, he was demanding midfield. Fabregas dictating games. Even early Jack Wilshere. I mean, a Spurs fan, I cannot stand Jack Wilshere. But if you put him in this Arsenal team, it's all of a sudden got a backbone and a bit of fight about it. But this Arsenal team now just seems to be like that kid who will call you a name and then run away. But whereas your other teams had that person, like your Keoghan's, your Vieiras, who I've mentioned, who will give it to you on the pitch, but they're the ones who are running the show. And I think that's what Arsenal miss a bit at the minute. It's just that spine, someone to just stand up and be counted and just take it to the opposition instead of just mouthing off and then trying to start a fight when the game's done. It just seems a bit,
like especially with Guendouzi,
completely different.
I think it's Guendouzi specifically. Like, for example, Watford away, he gets subbed off, he gets abused from the fans, he gives them a 2-1 finger gesture, and then we go and concede and we draw. Do you know what I mean? These things, he's don't get me wrong, this kid, he's a talented boy. He's young, 19, 20 years old. He's found a place in this Arsenal starting 11 between both managers, Emery and Arteta. They both played him. So there must be something about him that he's showing in training or whatever, and he must have potential. But he needs, I know it might show a bit of immaturity from him, but he just needs to talk less and play more to the standard that he's talking himself up to. He's bigging himself up on the pitch, but to me, he's not really backing himself up with the football. And that's what I want him to do as a fan. I don't want him saying all these things to specific players on the other team. I want him to tear them apart on the pitch, not just slag them off and then lose the game.
The best players in the world, who they're talking with results. You look at the likes to say, obviously, Guendouzi's never going to be a Messi or Ronaldo, but they have been serial winners throughout their career compared to, like, say, in the Premier League. Wayne Rooney's never actually been massively vocal in terms of, say, the media. I know he did have with England a bit more, but I kind of think that's more of a toxic relationship we can go on with in kind of the England fan dynamic, which is completely different to anything else in football, but I've digressed completely there. But say the top players in England, say obviously Paul Scholes as well, in a very similar position, in a similar mould to Guendouzi as well, would never say anything at all really controversial in the media, never really kind of would bat an eyelid with anything controversial in terms of like fan relations. And he did his talking because he won 12 Premier League titles, I think it was in the end, 12 or 13, 6 or 7 FA Cups, the Champions League twice. Like that's your best way of doing it.
That's how you back yourself up, isn't it? And that's how you make your points that you make to other players on the pitch valid. You say, if Guendouzi's trying to slag off a Brighton player, his points aren't going to be valid if Brighton then go and score a late winner. You know what I mean? And he just looks like an idiot. So that's what probably the only controversial player in the media that was in Guendouzi's position on the pitch was probably Roy Keane. But again, it's a player that backed it up with titles and trophies. People will still listen to him, as outrageous as his comments may sometimes come across, because he's been there and done it and got the T-shirt, he's got the titles, he's got the medals. So Guendouzi couldn't be doing all of that stuff because, you know, what's he won? What's he actually done in his career so far? Yes, he's got potential and has all the things that I stated earlier, but what's he actually got? You know, he's not got medals, he's not got titles or accolades or individual accolades. You know what I mean? And that's what the fundamental difference is.
He needs to have a look at, say, his compatriot Kante. I don't know where there was that debate on Twitter earlier on the week. But, yeah, he's a Frenchman who plays that exact same position to him in the Premier League, who everybody loves, has played for Chelsea, who are very much a disliked club in the Premier League. Yet by the way he acts and the way he plays, he's universally liked and loved as a footballer because of the performances he puts on the pitch and what he's won in the game. Because arguably, that stretch of 3 years where Chelsea won the league, Leicester won the league, and France won the World Cup, he was undoubtedly the best central defensive midfielder in the world. And that's someone who, say, a Guendouzi should look at and be like, that's what I need to model my game on, not being this feisty little fucker, really, that wants to fight everyone on the pitch and wears his heart on his sleeve. Because 6 months ago with Xhaka, he did the exact same thing, and what happened? He wore his heart on his sleeve, and that's where Arsenal are going wrong. It's just too much. Too
emotional.
Yeah,
I agree. It's completely emotional. I don't think the fans help because we are. I'm not, but I feel like a lot of our fans are an emotional bunch.
Emotional. I think
Arsenal Fan TV is the epitome of what Arsenal are as a football club right now.
Which is embarrassing because Arsenal fans as a whole don't agree with these opinions. But this is obviously the platform where if you want your best representation of an Arsenal fan, you go to this YouTube channel. But just going back to Guendouzi, I think it is a thing with age. You know, I think he's only 20. Pretty sure he's only 20. He's definitely not 21.
No,
as far
older
as
than that.
I think he's 20. So, you know, there's definitely room for maturity to come in, especially as a footballer. But I think this is when someone like Arteta needs to come in, you know, arm around the shoulder and say, listen, mate, just on the pitch, just relax yourself a little bit. You're talking, he is 21.
Yeah,
okay, my apology. Either way, the statements still stand. You know, Arteta needs to sort of show a bit of man management and just say, look, less talking on the pitch and do your thing on the pitch. That's what I want to see. And that will only improve his game. He can't get worse by taking that advice and actually going through with it. So, you know, that's when this is the time where Arteta needs to sort of come in and just explain that to him and just kind of relax him a little bit because he is coming out with some outrageous stuff on the pitch.
He's years away from the move to hand.
I think Andy years away from signing anyone at this point. Oh, what a club. We'll segue on a bit now. You mentioned him earlier, but Roy Keane's been in the headlines somewhat this week for his, we'll say, explosive return to Friday Night Football on Sky. Obviously, David De Gea didn't have the greatest
performance in a Manchester United shirt, very much polarising to what he did at Wembley probably 16 months ago now. Those of you who don't know, Manchester United drew 1-1 with Tottenham Hotspur at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And David De Gea and Harry Maguire were involved in a pretty much calamitous first goal where Stevie Bergwijn has burst through and your centre-back really should be... You're not expecting him to stop it because obviously Bergwijn is an absolutely rapid footballer and one of the best dribblers in the Premier League. But in the same sense, your defender should at least be able to have the foresight to step off and be able to slow him down. He burst past Maguire, hit the shot relatively in kind of De Gea's midriff, I'd say. And he doesn't get a solid hand to it, gets down too quickly, completely misjudges it. The ball just spins out of his hands and into the top corner. It's a venomously hit shot, but in the same sense, you'd expect your goalkeeper to do better with that. Harry, you had been watching that game as a Tottenham fan. What's your thoughts on the situation?
I thought it was a tutorial on defensively how not to defend against the pacey winger. It was just all over the shop. From when they won the first ball, Luke Shaw was already like 10 yards past it. We win the ball back. Bergwijn gets it, and then you're just thinking he's got space where Shaw's not there, and Maguire's not going to win this ball. And as a defensive line, I think there was questions of offside at first, but Wan-Bissaka kept it on. So as a line, it was just completely skew-whiffed, and he had the space to run into it. And then, I mean, as you just mentioned, it's as a world-class goalie like De Gea is, you'd expect him to save that. And then even the save that De Gea did make for the Heung-min Son header, I've got to agree with Roy Keane there. I think that's one. If his position is right, that can be made to look a lot easier. And I know it's a good save, but is it because does he?
That's a controversial shout. That is massively controversial.
I actually agree with him. I think if he positions himself right, he can catch that. I mean, the distance Son is for a header, and he's not like a Harry Maguire. He's not renowned for his heading ability, Son. But I just think I like De Gea, and I think he's definitely top 5 in the world. But I do have to agree with Roy Keane on the two. But I've got to stick with it. He's got to catch that.
I think the value that guy adds to Manchester United, though, if you think for the last 9 years, realistically, obviously he did join. He had that probably poor first 6 months of his Manchester United career, which kind of ended with that calamitous game against Blackburn. But after that, he kind of started to step up. And I think he's the model that some of these current Manchester United players should have a look at now and be like, this is how I reinvent my career as a Manchester United player. Because David De Gea, as much as he did make that mistake on Friday night, is still absolutely adored by every single Manchester United fan as the only kind of major silver lining throughout this rather poor period by Manchester United standards. But
he wins Man United. And this isn't me just digging at him as a footballer. This is solely based on Friday's performance, because when you look at the end of the season, David De Gea wins Manchester United so many points from the saves he makes. But my comments are just solely focused on Friday's performance. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. And in terms of points won, he probably, as a goalkeeper, wins his club more than any Premier League goalkeeper.
If there is a stat for that out there, I reckon over the past, say, 5 years, I can't see another goalkeeper winning more points because the saves he makes are unbelievable. Like Ollie said in his post-match press conference, it was like a complete flip on what the game was at Wembley, because you absolutely battered us at Wembley. They made 13, 12, somewhere around that number of saves.
It was 13.
Whereas, say, he realistically made one save on Friday and the game was flipped on the other way, and I don't know how many saves Lloris made. There was that unbelievable save on Martial. It probably wasn't as many as 10, but you could probably count 6 or 7 in there. Obviously,
then you have all the blocks that our centre-halves made, and like you say, that was a complete flip from the game 16 months or so ago. Like, you were dictating how the game was played, and when you brought on Pogba, I'm sat there thinking this game is about to be flipped on his head, because you're delusional if you don't think he is one of the best centre midfielders in the world and he can't flip a game on his head. And then when you start seeing him and Bruno playing passes together and like flicks into space, and you just like, oh God.
I don't think you can start Pogba because of how well the midfield was doing before the break came. And I think it was a bit of a message to Pogba from Ollie in the sense that you're going to have to work to get into this midfield. But he answered every single one of those questions in the 25 minutes he was on that pitch. So you can't, like that 25 minutes shows why he has every single asset a central midfielder needs. He's quick. He can dribble the ball. He's got the passing range. He creates chances. He can link the play. The only thing you might question is his defensive contribution, but he wasn't really tested on that. But in terms of, say, your technical abilities as a midfielder in terms of going forward and in that, say, once he's received the ball, there's nothing that footballer can't do. It's just whether he can do it on a consistent basis, which is something that has been spoken about until it's been everyone's blue in the face. It is something that Sky Sports love to talk about all the time. So I don't think we really need to get onto that, but it's clear to see. I think that any doubter of Paul Pogba should watch that game and see that no other central midfielder can produce a performance like that. Maybe Kevin De Bruyne, but it's kind of thing, grabbing the game like a scruff of the neck like that. There is not many that can do that.
I will add though, but if you play him next to McTominay, does his defensive work even need to be thrown into the question? Because McTominay, I thought, was superb at just breaking play up. I think both midfields sort of cancelled themselves out for a period, and then it got to that last 25 minutes, and you're thinking, Jose, you need to change something because we can't get out here. And then you just you get Pogba on the ball and he's making things happen.
I think it was literally, you're talking about his defensive contribution. I know this was that end of the pitch, but 30 seconds after he subbed on, he wins a tackle. I think it was on Aurier.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Plays the ball into the box, and I can't remember who's. It's probably Martial challenging for it, and we win a corner. That's literally 30 seconds of his impact on the pitch, and he's created a big chance like that.
I think it was a reminder though from Pogba. It wasn't a proving moment. I think we know Pogba's a world-class player. He dominated a World Cup final. You can't do that and not be a world-class player. I think this, because he's been away for so long, it was more of a reminder of his qualities rather than proving himself again. I don't think he needed to prove himself again, but it was because he's been away for so long, and that was sort of a reminder. And Greenwood as well, he played really well off the bench as well. I thought he made his impact, and I thought them three, Bruno and Martial, really stepped up when them substitutions were made as a collective.
Yeah, I think the only real forward player that didn't have the game you'd expect of him would be Marcus Rashford. Obviously, missed a chance in the first half. Coming back from injury, I find it hard to really get frustrated at him because of how much he's gone through emotionally probably in the last 2 weeks or so, well, a few months really with the injury and so on and so forth. I think he showed signs, like say, having your winger, being able to get into those positions to get those chances, and did win the odd take on and stuff. So I think it's just going to be a matter of him getting up to pace. But overall, I did think that showed Manchester United are on the right track that people are somewhat adamantly denying they're on.
I have to agree. From that performance, I saw a Man United team that, with a couple additions, not even just like squad additions, that they could certainly be back in the right area of the table, challenging the right sort of trophy. Yeah. I mean, just like going for it in the league, trying to get as close that gap on that top two as possible. I mean, there's not actually a gap at the minute. It's just completely just Liverpool. United were really impressive Friday night, and if they can, I think the question has been the consistency, and we're starting to see a lot more of that now. Is it 12 games now, Sam?
I know it's longer than Ollie's original run, so I assume it will be 12 because I think that was 11.
And now we're starting to see this consistency. You can really sort of see a vision of where this team's going, and I think they've done what they've done right here is they've stuck by Ollie with the odd poor result and just gone, no, it's fine, and now it's working, and you'll see. I think next season you'll see a proper Man United challenge.
Yeah, I can't say.
Sorry, Sam. I think Man United are probably disappointed not to have got a win against Spurs in that game, just because I think the goal they conceded, it was so soft, as we spoke about. Shaw with a bit of a mistake, Maguire's positioning, De Gea's mistake. It was such an unavoidable goal. I think that was sort of what Roy Keane's angle was about. Although the way he portrays it is probably not something I agree with. But that, I think United, that was soft. And when they look back at that, it's not even something they could improve in training. It was just a calamity of errors that all seem to just happen at the same time. So it's a very avoidable thing, and the chances of it happening again are unlikely. But with the second half performance they had, I think they deserved the win, to be honest with you. I think only Spurs only really showed up in that second half once they conceded, which, I mean, to be fair, obviously you're going to defend when you're playing against the top 6 team, but I just thought it was too passive from Tottenham, and they only really started to attack again once they weren't ahead.
I mentioned I think the thing that killed us Friday night was actually keeping Harry Kane on the pitch for as long. Well, we played the whole 94 minutes, whatever it was. But I just feel like when your back's against the wall, you need that out ball. And even if you bring on a Sessegnon for Kane, then put Son up top, and you just go a bit more direct and in behind, get him chasing up. Like Man United, Sam said to me in the first half, he really liked how they were just slipping it in behind over the top and letting Rashford run into it. And that could have been a good release. And I think every time the ball came up to Kane, it was either a really leggy touch or it just wasn't to his feet. And then Maguire and Lindelof would get it, play it to the fullbacks, and they were out. And I think that's the one thing that really frustrated me was Jose's lack of... It was very reactive Friday night. And I think that's something he's going to need to work on if we're going to improve, because it certainly felt like it was just waiting for Man United to score that equaliser or to score that second, which it was nearly given the opportunity to do. But
yeah, that's one thing you would say, that VAR did work well for one of the rare occasions, I say, this season with that decision being overturned. I don't think anyone could argue against that. I don't think Bruno's dived. It was just, I think his momentum took it. So when recording this, we had a bit of a mishap and we have missed some of our VAR talk. So now please enjoy our talk on the strange decisions that happened at Aston Villa and Sheffield United. So after VAR got one decision right in the Manchester United game, didn't really help out in the curtain raiser for the Premier League, as in Sheffield United versus Aston Villa, where Nyland bundles the ball over the line after the striker, I can't remember his name now.
Keenan Davis?
Yeah, Keenan Davis, that's it. He just gets in his way and basically falls into the net, a good yard over the line. Goal line technology, still on furlough. Didn't fancy it. And that was a nice return to Premier League football. A stunning 0-0 and problems with technology again. You can't go wrong. Best league in the world.
It was the only way the league was returning. It was going to be a 0-0 with controversy.
Yeah, and that's what we got. Best league in the world. Unbelievable stuff.
The fact that apparently his watch went off at half time, flashing goal as well, just made it so much more funnier.
Did it actually?
Yeah, it did.
I don't know if someone was taking the piss with a tweet, but
oh no!
Twitter was hilarious when that happened, because the game was so boring. I think it brought the best out of people's creativity on Twitter, and things like that, and some of the jokes that were made about the goal line technology were just class.
I think I've seen about 7 jokes where it goes, he's put his Fitbit on and not his goal line tech watch. I think the creativity run out after about the third time hearing that.
As soon as Lad Bible were on it, it was over before it even began. The disgraceful of internet journalism. It is a terrible, terrible platform, and I don't care if they see this. Bunch of nabbing bastards.
You're getting a theme park.
Speaking of Ebbsfleet, mate, your fate was sealed this week. How'd you feel?
Like I said, I've been like accustomed with it now for a while. It's just I knew it was happening. I mean, after the Halifax game, I did think we were all going to stay up.
I thought you were going to stay up. If the league finishes, you stay up.
It didn't look like the National League were ever going to cancel it at one point, and then we're now here. But like I said, we didn't get the points we needed. We're now going to enjoy Oxford City away.
Braintree, mate. That's the one you're looking forward to.
Man,
Not a long trip.
This is going to be my 6th time going to Braintree if I go next season.
I bet you won't go.
I've made it quite clear to my friends and my dad. I was like, there's grounds I've been to in this league about 3 or 4 times. I have zero intention. I mean, Deck mentioned Concord last week, and I was a bit sick in my mouth.
What grounds are intriguing?
Weymouth.
Not Bath. It's a good ground.
I had more fun at Weymouth.
I think Bath's great. I like Bath's ground.
I've been to Bath 3 times now, though.
Yeah, you've won every time, so don't complain.
I saw us lose in 2 playoff finals in the National League. It just depresses me. This will also be my 6th time going to Chelmsford, but it's always a great time because I've seen 6 wins there.
Chelmsford's all right.
It's a running track, though, isn't it?
The ground's terrible, but exactly. It's a running track, isn't it? It just doesn't do it for me. We've scored 6 goals in 2 games, and I've been there. So,
Hampton and Richmond in the summer is a very nice. Any time.
That's not the one.
You hate Hampton, don't you, Dad?
Not the one. I've been there twice, and we lost both times there as well. It's the only ground I've been to where we haven't won.
It's up there with one of the worst names. What is it? The Beaver Stadium.
Beavery.
That's
Beavery.
it.
I don't know how you say it, but it's not like that.
Hasn't got a patch on Lewis FC's The Dripping Pan.
That's amazing.
Dripping Pan, yeah.
Also, it's actually a really good stadium as well, the Dripping Pan.
It's got the slope, hasn't it? Like at the end of one of the grounds. It's not end of one of the grounds, end of one of the ends. I don't know what's it called. My brain has just gone to frazzle, but you get my point. Just Google a picture of it.
From one team going down from the south, I think it's only fair that we congratulate Mr. Declan O'Brien.
Having a Waterlooville. Oh wait, as much as they pretended it was them going up, well done, Dad.
Listen.
Well done, mate. I'm buzzing for you.
Yeah. No, thank you. Honestly, I was prepared for like a week for this to happen, and I still felt every emotion that you go through when it happens in front of you within 90 minutes. So that's the main takeaway for me, is that I've still felt all that emotion. It was really good. I really enjoyed myself on Wednesday night.
Is there any plans for you to, obviously with social distancing measures being slowly relaxed, are there any somewhat plans in place for you to have that celebration yet, or?
Yeah, we just announced today. So today
very nice.
Tuesday. Yeah, I know. Very lucky that.
Didn't even know.
Yeah, so today we announced on the 4th of July when they're relaxing, obviously 2 meters to 1 meter, and they're going to open up pubs and stuff like that. We're going to be doing a huge celebration with the players, fans and stuff. We got these like. That's what I mind. We got like football fields around the ground, so there's plenty of space, and however many people are going to go, I'm sure there'll be no one turned away. So, it'll be a good celebration, hopefully, for everyone.
Oh, good. I say it's nice to know that you get your chance with the fans and all of that, not really, because I think that's what's the main thing that would be missing. Like, say you don't get that title lift, you don't get that kind of not last minute winner, but there's always that game, like say that you clinch the league on. Obviously, sometimes it's not like a massive occasion for it. Like say when United beat Villa 3-0 to win the title, that wasn't like say a massive occasion like a cup final, but it was a nice amalgamation of the leagues, like we say Van Persie scoring.
Yeah.
So like say you didn't get a chance to have that game that's just kind of the champions in waiting that Liverpool are going to get soon and so on and so forth, which is a shame. But I think that's the only real thing you're going to be missing now.
Some fan worked it out. We actually won the league at Dartford, and it was a 0-0 draw. So if only we'd have known at the time that I was actually going to win us the league, because it was the most uninspiring game of football.
Didn't you miss a penalty?
All season that we had. Denon missed a penalty, yeah.
Yeah.
But that secured us. It was like our 66th point or something, which was enough with the game in hand to have enough points per game over Haven't. So that was the moment, and it had to be one of the most drab 0-0s of the season.
I wouldn't want to win the league in any other way.
We basically won the league at Prince's Park.
First time a league title's ever been won there.
Only one team in North Kent.
But yeah, it was Wednesday was class, and I probably sat here for like 3 hours just having to go through the notifications. I've never seen notifications like it. And it was quite, I actually, because obviously being the admin, it was a bit of a historic moment, sort of pressing the button to announce that moment, which I don't think we're ever going to get again with all these circumstances. So, you know, that's a moment that can probably go on the CV.
Yeah, say it's been like quite nice as obviously in that somewhat of a similar boat and being able to announce that we're getting playoffs. That obviously you knew pretty much that everyone involved it was going to bubble over this way, so you were just waiting to be able to tweet that thing and say for you especially because you had that. It was more of a euphoric sort of occasion because you did win the league. It wasn't say like for us, it was just we've got playoffs, so we're still a lottery, but the lottery is slightly more of a chance than in the league itself. So for you, it must have been like an amazing experience, and say probably got some of your most engaged tweets, Instagrams, whatever.
Yeah, in terms of likes and stuff, it's done numbers I've not seen for the club before, which is fantastic. We've had loads of congratulations from plenty of different clubs. Obviously, I think the biggest was probably Norwich, because obviously Aston Oxborough was on loan from Norwich, our goalkeeper. So they obviously sent their message of congratulations, and a few other clubs around that sort of area, and a lot of our league clubs within our division also said congratulations and stuff. But yeah, it was just it was obviously a weird thing to do, to have to tweet that out. But I think, as you were saying there, we sort of knew, we were 95% sure, but I feel like when, like I said earlier, about you still felt them emotions as prepared as you were for it. You still felt the emotions, and I'm not even a supporter of the club. So imagine for someone who actually supports the club and has been there through the tough times in this whole 32 years between relegation from the conference and getting back there now, and all the highs and lows. For someone like that, then it must have completely boiled over for them. And you know, the tweets that come out after 7 p.m. when we announced it must have been brilliant for them.
Yeah, because obviously they're looking forward to that moment, and they say that is the kind of not say replacement for that feeling of say being able to be at the title lift and so on and so forth. And it's as close as they're going to get. So you're having that pint and scrolling through all the tweets and all the things the players are putting out, and say the video you made as well. Everyone's kind of, that's what's to get them excited, and that's the lift they're going to get, rather than that penalty that secures it or whatever it may be. Like I say, it's the best they're going to get. And I think that in a situation where, or a year really that's been so dire, to have that moment with the fans is so nice.
It's the power of social media as well, isn't it? I mean, if this happened 15 years ago, we had this pandemic, you know, the fans might not get that exact same moment the way we were able to provide it.
Find out by
at
facts.
the end of this.
Posting.
I mean, yeah, that's how you probably find out, or something like that. Maybe a forum or something like that might tell you. But to be able to have that power of social media, where you can see everyone's excitement, engagement in the tweets that you're putting out, it's definitely the second best that you could have, and probably the best thing you could have in this scenario that we've now got with this pandemic. So, but I'm happy that, you know, obviously we're up now and we can start preparing for life back in the National League next season.
So, yeah, getting on to that, what are you most excited for about being in the National League?
Probably, you know what, it's a nerdy one, but probably just the extra media attention, and like obviously having that little bit of more exposure. I think that's probably what I'm looking forward to most. And obviously, you know, seeing great teams come down, like massive traditional football league clubs that have obviously now found their way into the conference. I mean, we're going to have one of Yeovil or Notts. So, you know, either one of those
not Yeovil.
Huge. Yeah, you know what I mean?
So much wood to touch.
Yeah, and obviously Chesterfield, which is a huge club, and things like that. So, yeah, I just can't.
Of all the away days then, which one are you kind of most looking at and thinking, that's the one? Obviously, the ones that are confirmed to be there at the moment.
Probably Wrexham. Wrexham.
So,
Just because-
yes.
I think just because Arsenal lost to them in that FA Cup game, and I kind of just want to. If I can go with Woodstone and Woodstone go there and get a result, I'll feel like, you know what, we've done the Arsenal of the 80s or 90s or whatever it was justice. We've done them
Genuinely, you go there and you feel like you're at a top-end League One ground. Like, it is really, really nice. Like, I do really like it there. They do give you biscuits as well in the press room, so that's why I like it so much. And to say, like, you go into, like, say, the change of room facilities, and I think because Wales played there a few years ago, but not long after Ryan Giggs took over, and they had a friendly, I think it was against Trinidad and Tobago. That is off the top of my head, but I think it was. And they did win. I know they won it, but I'm not sure. And they did take like a last-minute winner or something. That's not the point. But like, you go in there, and obviously they've done up all the changing rooms for that occasion. And the away dressing room is nicer than most home dressing rooms, and probably no disrespect to the Vale, a little bit actually. It's probably nicer than.
I'm sure Wrexham's away dressing room is definitely better than our dressing room. I don't know how social distancing is going to work in our changing rooms, but
Well, I think like talking about, say, that social distancing stuff. Have you seen in the Premier League, like, you've had teams getting changed in the car park, like Liverpool or Everton? I think at Yeovil, we've got the academy porta cabins. I don't know there's any of this, but like, say, I imagine away teams will just have to get sorted in there, because our corridor into the home dressing room is a very thin corridor. So, like, you can't social distance in there at all.
you definitely can't social distance in the cage as well.
No, not at all.
There's no chance, literally no chance. So I think you can only fit about 22 men in there. So I don't know how it's going to work, but listen, it's just going to be something we have to deal with and just cross them bridges when we get to them next season.
Yeah, no, it's I'm sure you are looking forward to it, and yeah, hopefully I don't see you next season, but yeah, we can see. Actually, because we didn't get onto it last week, it was obviously pretty much confirmed that the National League playoffs will go ahead, but the North and South, no, they are actually happening now. I know our North knowledge isn't as good as our South knowledge, but what are we saying prediction-wise for these playoffs?
I think York are going to win the North.
I think it'll be a York-Boston final, and it'll probably be York.
Yeah, I think York and Boston are probably the two I'd lean towards.
Second and third into the final, yes.
But Boston as well are putting in a lot of investment, as similar to what York are, in the sense of they want to do up their ground. They want to be on the right path as to that football league, or at least top level conference again. So I do think Boston are a fair bet if you look at the kind of model the club are trying to take up at the moment. And obviously York as well, with moving into the new ground, they probably want National League football there.
They had a good cup run as well, Boston. Nearly played Newcastle, didn't they? But then they lost to Rochdale. I think Rochdale. South.
Slough. Only Slough.
I actually hope Slough go up.
My heart's saying Slough, but my head knows that I think Slough lost to every team away in the playoffs. So I will have to, I'm going to go with Bath. I just feel, for some reason, I'm leaning towards Bath, even though we absolutely battered them.
That happened as well, though.
7-0. They got Tom Smith that just
best
got
player in the National League.
The
South, sorry. Yeah.
He's National League South player, the best National League South player last season, which was given in the awards in the non-league paper this week. Him and their solid defence. You've got Frankie Artis in midfield. I just think if they can sort out their firepower up front, I think they'll be a challenger in these playoffs. But I don't think you can look past Havant either. Obviously, with home advantage and the squad that they have, it's going to be difficult for another team to go up other than them, to be honest.
Trying to counteract that, say with Slough, trying to put a little bit of my head into it and give some justifications why they could go up. They are playoff specialists, Bakes and Unders. This is their fourth season in the playoffs in the 7 or 8 seasons they've managed. They have been able to just continually improve on the level they get to every single year. And they do end up winning these playoffs when they get into it, finishing in 6th or 7th place. So I do think they're they can't actually be discounted. I know they have lost to a lot of these sides away. Yeah. And say they went to Kings Lynn and beat them, and now look at what Kings Lynn are doing. So
yeah, that's true. And you're definitely correct with the playoff specialist thing, because even though, obviously I said the stat that I said, playoff football is so different, and it's you're focusing on 90 minutes and the result only, not really looking at the performance. So all these things put together, it doesn't matter if they haven't beat any of them away from home, because playoff football, the circumstances are so different, the pressure is so much bigger. Some clubs and managers like Yeovil, Bakes and Unders, they understand this pressure. They've been here before. Whereas a Weymouth or Bath City, who haven't had great playoff success, that might be where they struggle in comparison to Slough. Maybe Dorking as well, who've been promoted.
I think if you look at the League Two playoffs as a kind of modelled for what this is going to be like, obviously with no crowds, both of those games were flipped on their head and arguably not won by the favourites. Like Cheltenham, especially going into their tie, were overwhelmingly the favourites to go up. They were in brilliant form before the break, pretty much dispatched of Northampton seemingly in the first leg, and it completely flipped in the second. But I think in these circumstances as well, one, you can never predict, and there is an uncertain nature to the playoffs. But two, I do think it's just how you manage it over those two games. Or I'll say in the National League it's one, but say how you can just manage that game and just get that result. And I think ultimately, I do think Slough are somewhat specialists in that.
It's a complete clean slate though. That's another thing we've got to remember. Like, it's been 3 months since like these teams have played.
Yeah.
So everything goes out the window, and especially with Bakes and Unders experiencing it, you certainly can't look past them.
And you're looking at squads that have played together for a long time. I can't imagine a core group of players in that playoff has played together for as long as that Slough team.
It's a tough argument, that though, because obviously we've won the league with virtually a whole new squad.
Yeah.
So I agree that argument can be.
I think in terms of, say, though, going in and running off the bat, like, say, straight away being able to go in and connect with those players again.
Trusting each other as players on the pitch with experience with playing each other for that long.
I just think they might click better. This is obviously hypothetical, but say a group of players that may have played together for a year and like might need that kind of getting back to know each other again, whereas Slough, they've played together for so long that they'll be able to go back in, maybe even if it's they get a week's head start on training because of it, it's still that extra kind of development that some clubs might not have.
I think it depends on your sort of togetherness that is mainly down to probably your manager and your coaching staff that build that. If you don't have that togetherness, even if you've been playing together 3 years, but you have it when you played it for 1 year, that team that's probably got that togetherness might actually end up better off. I feel like if Woodstone were in the playoffs, again, this is all hypothetical, obviously, but I think we had such a togetherness, even though we were a squad for a season. Coming back after this long period, I don't think would have affected our togetherness at all. I think it's no secret because we've obviously gone and won the league now. So, it was clear that we had this togetherness and everyone, it was one. It wasn't a split up of friendship groups. Everyone could come together and it would be a team. So, that's the sort of I guess mindset that you need in the playoffs. And that togetherness is what will get you through. And obviously with that knack of winning playoff games, which, Bakes and Unders have, if they have that togetherness within their squad, which is likely because, they've that core's been together for a substantial amount of time, then, that might work for them going into this with that break that you mentioned there before the playoffs.
Yeah, obviously say Havant will be the favourites, and I think I couldn't argue with anyone who predicted them, but I'm going to predict with my heart and say Slough.
I'm going to go with my head and go Havant.
I think it's going to be Havant as well. I know I said Bath earlier, but Bath might take him in the final or something. But it might
I don't know what the order is in terms of, say, who gets to where, like who plays who in the quarters.
I think Slough played Dartford
Yeah, I know that's the game. I don't know who, say, goes on to the next
And
round.
then I think they then go to Weymouth.
Yeah.
So I could be wrong. So then Bath probably can't play Havant. I'll have to look at that again then. But
Yeah.
I just feel like, for some reason, I feel like it's going to be Havant or Bath, and I don't think I am ruling out everyone else, unfortunately. As much as I would love Slough to also go up, as they are my hypothetical Premier League team from 2 episodes ago. So, but I just think it's going to be Havant or Bath for me.
Fair enough. Speaking of the hypotheticals, do you want to go for that this week?
Yeah.
And it's a really, really silly one this week. It is like obscenely stupid. So, right, we all have a packet of crisps, and as the Premier League is back, if you could equate a Premier League team to a packet of crisps, what would they be, and why?
This is a great question because the 100, which was going to start this year, each team was sponsored by crisp brands.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So each team in the 100 was sponsored by a company of crisps, which is interesting. Considering you didn't know that, that is very weird that this is your hypothetical question without knowing that.
I've already got 2.
Go on then, let's hear him.
So
I'm going to go off the bat with kettle chips and go Manchester City. Extremely expensive. The satisfaction level is quite high when you have a good packet of kettle chips. And you know what? I would probably pay for a big bag. So in terms of a season ticket, in that way, big bag.
Yeah.
And then AFC Bournemouth, beef Space Raiders. 20p, red and black. If they were there and I only had 20p, I'd certainly get them. But would they be in my not bottom 3? Probably not.
That's fair.
for me, I'd put Walkers, but I'd have 2 clubs because they kind of fall in the same bracket. Walkers with Man United and Arsenal because they were once the best, but they have dropped off.
Who are you saying is the crisp connoisseurs now then, Dick?
Huh?
Who's the crisps connoisseur if it's not Walkers?
No, what now?
Kettle chips that would be the best.
Well,
I
love Doritos. I love Doritos, man.
I've got a Doritos are just.
But who do you equate Liverpool to then? Doritos.
Yeah.
Because they got that like flair about them, and a chili heatwave Dorito with a bit of dip. It's
and you know what? Doritos weren't regarded as the best team, but now they are. Which is kind of what Liverpool is. Doritos weren't the best Doritos.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to throw out one. I'm going to go for Pickled Onion Monster Munch. They are a strong, solid contender that some people don't back all the time. And they are Wolves. Purely because Wolves have kind of like bubbled up and they're being a bit bubbled under the radar a bit, but they're still a very good side. And I think that is our Pickled Onion Monster Munch. I think they are a very, very strong crisp.
What would be like your Newcastle of crisps? What's your mid-table?
McCoy's.
We've got to go through the league now. I feel like we've just got to go through the league at this point.
All right. I'll get there. I'll get the table up. But I think they're a McCoy's because they're like proper blokey, aren't they?
You notice how much more passionate I am when you bring the crisp into it.
Right, so we'll go with the teams. We'll go Leicester.
I mean, how can
Leicester
you not
should
make
be
them cheese and onion Walkers?
Yeah, they've got to be Walkers. They have to be. Yeah, no, that's no doubt. They've got to be one.
But then Deck's point about Man United and Arsenal being...
Oh, yeah, that's not the point. It doesn't matter, does it?
That can be like a ready sorted. They can be the ready sorted one, and then Leicester can be the cheese and onion.
Okay.
No, we'll have Leicester as the cheese and onion, and then
Man United and Arsenal be salt and vinegar and ready sorted.
We've got Chelsea now. Chelsea, what are you saying?
It's got to be an expensive.
Tyrrells.
Yeah, Tyrrells. I'm not a massive fan of Tyrrells, but they're very expensive.
Yeah.
Sounds like my love with Chelsea as well, to be fair.
Exactly.
Sheffield United. You want a working man's crisp, a crisp that does the job.
Working man's crisp.
See, I think McCoy's that way. I also said that for that's a big shout.
But I don't. When I think of working man, I think of someone on the site, and I don't see a tube of Pringles. I see, like Sam said, a packet of.
They are
steak,
mini cheddars.
Cheddars.
No, there's other teams who are mini cheddars. I think ready salted McCoys.
Yeah, I can back
okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Man's crisp.
that. Tottenham Hotspur.
What's really flaky?
Oh, do you know if you get those like ready salted baked?
Yeah, the
Right,
baked, the Walker's baked.
Yeah. So they haven't got.
It's
as
because
much about them.
it's because Tottenham are
Yeah,
baked
stop.
because
We're
they've
stop.
had the same team for like 7 years.
Yeah,
They are baked.
feel that. We're baked.
Crystal Palace.
They're mini cheddars.
Nah, they got a bit
I'm
more
gonna throw
character.
out.
What is a mini cheddar? Would that
I'm
be
gonna
more
go
like
out there and say nice and spicy knickknacks. Because you
got some flair there.
You got some flair on Zaha. I think they're knickknacks.
They're a bit one-dimensional as well, aren't they?
Yeah, you can't not have a spicy knickknack. If it was like a cheese and onion knickknack, you'd think, what's the point? So I think that's quite Palace.
Yeah. Oh, now we're down to Arsenal in 10th. That was
So
I just want to say
are
that
already sorted. I think it's got to be ready sorted.
after 30 games, Crystal Palace do have 2 more points than you.
I'm not surprised, mate. Crystal Palace are a good team, and you don't need to be good to be better than us anyway.
Burnley. That's a working man's crisp. That's what Brexit means. Brexit crisp.
Oh, it's not Pringle though, is it? It's got a bit Quavers.
Yeah, Quavers definitely. They definitely eat Quavers.
Quavers.
Yeah. I think it would probably be a meaty crisp, but I think that.
Oh, what about the
Roast
Walkers? What? Yeah, like a roast beef Walkers would work for Burnley, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Everton.
French fries.
Can't argue with that. Or that prime Newcastle side that had like Ben Arthur, Obertan.
Yeah, no, Lucas Digne.
eBay.
eBay. I mean, Schneiderlin's gone today, but still, they're French fries.
Oh, is he gone, is he?
Yeah, gone to Nice today.
I didn't know that.
Also, quite flimsy, like Jordan Pickford's little arms.
Yeah, that's fine. Newcastle. Did we say one for Newcastle?
We didn't actually decide one.
Crisp for Newcastle.
I mean, it's Steve Bruce, so they're only celery crisps.
No, because Newcastle Ale. What would you have with like a beer?
They are the packet of nuts you get in the pub.
I was going to say,
yeah. How about that?
I was going to say, Mr. Porky's pork scratching.
That's a shout.
Brilliant.
Southampton. Have you need?
Oh, they're Marmite Walkers. Marmite Walkers.
I don't know. I think they're a bit too flash and a bit boring as well. I think
maybe cheddars then.
Yeah, they're mini cheddars. Mini cheddars.
Brighton.
For Southampton.
Brighton
are those alien head things that are grim. Do you know what I'm on about?
Space Raiders.
Yeah.
No, but we've given Bournemouth space. I'll give you that. They can be. I've got a new one for Bournemouth.
Yeah, because I think they're a bit weird. Like they have the questionable managerial appointments, and they don't actually have a good player.
Have Space Raiders made some bad managerial appointments then?
I don't know. I just don't rate them. Watford. Come on, Dak. I'll let you decide Watford as an honorary Watford fan at times.
I have no idea. For Watford, I mean, they could have been. You've got to find a crisp that could have been great, but hasn't really been that. Once you actually had it, you thought actually that wasn't as good as it could have been. That's the sort of crisp you need.
Oh, those Nando's ones they put out recently.
The thing is, I like them Nando's crisps. They didn't taste like Nando's though.
Exactly.
It's got to be.
But you actually do like Watford.
Maybe that could be Watford.
Yeah, we'll give you.
Yeah, that could be Watford. The Nando's crisp.
West Ham.
I just think of regular prawn cocktail Walkers.
Yeah, they're a bit nothing, aren't they?
Well, they could be KP nuts because they're always in a boozer. God, I hope
Okay.
we beat them tonight. I really hope we beat them.
Yeah. Bournemouth? Go on, you had your new one for them.
I'm saying they're Marmite Walkers.
Yeah, I can see that. They really are.
Look at me.
I'm really young and really small.
That is basically Bournemouth.
Aston Villa.
What's the like the maroony purpley Pringles?
I was going to
I don't know what
say
they're called.
they've got a bit. I think they're Greg's home brand, Aston Villa.
Greg's home brand. What?
Yeah, Greg's do their own little crisps.
They do.
I didn't even know that. You can have that.
For Bournemouth, the other day at Tesco's, I got my meal deals. There was only crisps out. Proper chips, lentil chips. That's got to be Bournemouth.
Norwich, I am saying nothing else but a bag of 6 of Tesco's own ready salted. Because you are nothing. Or actually the ones you get in school that are genuinely like disgraceful bags of crisps. They taste genuinely like sick. That's Norwich.
Yeah, they're no one's first choice.
I'm just going to approach that with like a Bratwurst flavoured crisp. But I can't disagree with that. Especially if they knocked us out the FA Cup. I think I'd go down.
I think
Or as Ty from
hope will be turning into reality.
Or as Ty from AFTV said, hope Norwich get relegated. Thanks to the NHS.
Can't argue with that. I've really enjoyed that hypothetical.
That's a great hypothetical.
Cheers, mate. That was I like one just came to my head one day. I was like, that's a great shout. I don't know where it came from, just appeared. And I was like, we're doing that next week. And here we are, talking about crisps and football clubs.
I'm sure you were probably eating crisps at the time you thought of it, to be honest.
I actually wasn't. You know what we didn't talk about though? Actually no, we did. We spoke about French fries, being an idiot. Oh.
We didn't mention squares, and that's what I'm going to go grab a packet of in a minute.
Paprika Max as well. We didn't give them any. That could go to Palace, maybe.
Oh, we didn't mention Sensations.
No one's really quite sensational, are they?
Sensations are up there. They've got to be like they've got to be a city.
Or what if they're a Wolves?
They could be a Wolves. I could be happy with that.
Yeah.
Are they underrated though?
I don't have them. So I've never had them before.
I don't
Really?
really like sweet chili, but I go for the roast beef and thyme Sensations, and they are sensational.
I rarely swear away from kettle chips now. I really go full Tory on them, which is something I really do. I'm disgraced at myself for. Never go full Tory. Ugh. As you can see by my time
at work tomorrow, I'm now going to be just thinking about what crisps I get.
Which Premier League club am I?
Hungry.
That's the worst BuzzFeed quiz I've ever heard.
He's going to be at work dipping into Championship, isn't he?
Every time one of us, we're all together in getting a meal deal or something, we're going to be looking at Chris and it's like, oh, a pack of Palaces here.
Sainsbury's home brand. Look, lads, I've got an Oldham Athletic.
How was the conversation about Chris gone so left?
Well, it's like last week. How the fuck did we end up talking about the third Russian division? Things happen, Deck. Things happen.
Oh, I don't know how we're going to top this. Chris.
We've got to come back next week. Chocolate.
Yeah, I want to move away from food now. I think we need to...
I am getting hungry just talking about this.
I'm going to grab something after this.
Yeah, so am I.
I'm hoping there's a takeaway for dinner tonight because of the game, but who knows? I do fancy a packet of Krishna. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good way to call an end to this lovely podcast. Boys, I'm delighted you enjoyed that one. Yeah, please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.